I have a feeling it's going to be kind of a rough day on the stock market today.
Advisory services offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced and information provided in this material are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments are appropriate for you, please consult with a financial advisor. Second Half Financial Partners, LLC does not provide tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax or legal advisor regarding your particular situation.
You do that, please. And we'll get to check in and see what's going on Wall Street this morning and over the weekend, because weird stuff does tend to happen over the weekend. Help guide us through it. On the line with us is Statler Financial Services' very own Philip Statler. And Philip, 4 years ago, I postulated the most valuable public service Melania Trump could do is to throw Donald's cell phone into a White House toilet. I wish she had.
I tell you, he sure has spurned the markets into a tizzy this morning.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Yes, Friday's close, and remember, we didn't have any trading yesterday. Friday's close is basically flat. We just had kind of our usual take a little off the table before a holiday weekend, so we were down hundreds of percent, 0.17%, the biggest loss on the Dow. The Russell 2000 actually eked out another all-time record. Basically, net on balance, everything was pretty well flat. Then, over the weekend, President Trump starts talking big time about tariffing the heck out of Europe. They didn't fall in line and tell Denmark to give us Greenland, and pretty much everything got flushed down the commode, and unfortunately what got flushed down the commode wasn't Donald Trump's cell phone, right?
Yeah, exactly, Dave. It's I guess I can kind of see his end around here, but I'm thinking he's punishing other countries, Europe, to be specific, in order to get Greenland. I'm not sure how that all works together, but I guess he figures that the European Union can put enough pressure on Denmark to release it or sell it to us or whatever Trump's wanting. But it is definitely not making the markets happy this morning.
Not one tiny little bit, and the European response didn't help one tiny little bit either. They're basically talking about retaliatory tariffs, including Macron in France is suggesting that the European community unify and quote-unquote sell the USA. That means take all their holdings in American equity markets and sell them off, which is enough to pretty much give any investor a case of acid reflux, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely would. I don't know what that number would be, but it's got to be a pretty big number that they have over there.
I got to believe it's at least bigger than Warren Buffett's share in the market, and if Warren Buffett decided to liquidate everything that he had, it wouldn't help our day any. And I got to believe European markets are considerably bigger than that as far as investors in our stocks. So it's not a fun time. We were saying before we went on the phone, I understand why President Trump wants Greenland. I mean, strategically, as the Arctic Ocean becomes open for passage more and more frequently, it's becoming militarily very important. But at the same time, Denmark would be perfectly happy to let us put as many bases on Greenland as we want to and without transferring it. I do know there's a ton of mineral wealth up there underneath the ice, but it hasn't ever been quantified, and I'm not sure I'd want to blow up a global relationship to find out whether or not there's enough to make it worthwhile. So I got to tell you, I'm shaking my head at this thing all around, wondering what on Sam Hill he's really thinking.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, I just can't. I don't get it. I mean, like you said, I understand that point of it, but there's multiple ways to get that done without taking ownership. And so he always has a plan. We can't see it. We don't understand it. But things seem to work out. I think he goes overhandedly one way in order to march it back and make it seem like, oh, now we're getting a good deal.
Yeah, editorially speaking, that's the way you do business in the private sector. Overstock, threaten, and go ahead, and then settle for something that you really wanted all along. When you're doing it in public with foreign nations, it is downright frightening as the process continues, though, isn't it?
It is, and obviously it has our markets frightened this morning.
Absolutely. Just as a tidbit of good news, anyway, the Fear and Greed Index that I look at to monitor the amateur investors, so far, the amateur investor is kind of shrugging their head at all this because it's still solidly into the greed zone, which I'm considering a little bit of, at the very least, reassurance that the body politic as a whole isn't looking at this thing as being, oh my God, the world is going to end type process like it looks like some of our big institutional investors are.
Well, I think probably they haven't seen this morning's numbers yet.
That's true. It may change by tomorrow morning because it does not look pretty. Yeah, last week, everything was pretty much as is. Things looked perfectly fine. Danish officials basically pulled out of that trip to Davos that President Trump was planning on doing, and we're kind of at the point right now. We're at the point of well, using the old stereotype, a Mexican standoff on it because nobody's talking to each other as far as the people that can actually make the difference. Macron and Trump right now are throwing rocks at each other on social media. That's pretty much the extent for it. Other stuff going on, the Netflix and Paramount argument over Warner Brothers. Netflix sweetened the pot this morning right in advance of their quarterly report later on today. They decided to convert their offer for Warner Brothers to all cash, which just adds a little bit more flies into the ointment for Paramount trying to do something with them. This is still fun to watch, isn't it?
It is, and let's face it, Warner Brothers really, or I should say, Netflix really wants that Discovery network, and so they continue to sweeten their pot just to help offset the other guys, right?
Yeah, and Paramount keeps sweetening their pot, and it's just the people that are going to win are going to be the Warner Brothers shareholders that are going to make out like bandits at the end of it all. And that's interesting because just for a change, we're not talking about super high-tech firms because by and large so far this year kind of looks like we're starting to rotate a little bit more away from high-tech. The Russell 2000 set like 4 intraday all-time highs last week, a couple of closing record highs, and the other major indexes, basically the S&P 500 was basically flat for last week. Ditto for the Dow. We may have had a little gain, but right now the winners that I'm seeing right now are on the small cap indexes, aren't they?
Yeah, it does definitely seem to be that way as we kind of head into. I guess you could say this is kind of a big week for earnings. I mean, we had some last week, but every week now for the next couple of weeks, it's going to get more and more.
Absolutely. Speaking of which, while we're talking about what the overall macro factors are, there's a running ton of reports that are out this morning, and a running ton more that'll come out after the close today. The one that caught my eye that you told me that you had was 3M because I got family that worked there for many years. How did Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing do? I still use the old name for it.
3M, they're, the makers of the famous Post-it notes and Scotch tape. Well, they came in with mixed results for the fourth quarter. They topped on earnings, but they fell short when it came to revenue numbers. And they came up with their earnings range for the current full year. And they're kind of in the middle of what everybody thought they would be. They made it from $8.50 to $8.70 a share. Expectation was $8.64. So that didn't seem to really be too far off the park, but because of the missed revenue number, they're down today 4.65% right now.
See, let that be a lesson to you guys. Just mention artificial intelligence if you miss. It's going to save your stock, right?
I guess so. Hey, on the other hand, D.R. Horton, the home builder, they beat by about 10 cents a share, came in at $2.03. Revenue ahead of expectations as well. They did climb earlier this morning, but then when all the stuff started hitting the fan on the futures, they've started to wane as well. And so they're down 3.8% this morning. Yeah. So another downer is J.B. Hunt. They reported a year-over-year revenue decline for the fourth quarter. What they call final mile service revenue was off by about $7 million. And then, down 10%, generally soft market demand. So That has them trading down a little over 1% this morning. So it's a tough
A
call.
miss there doesn't strike me as good news at all. I mean, I've always considered transportation like that to being a canary in a coal mine, don't you?
I do, because that's goods and services, or goods being transported. A lot of times
Yeah.
that's transported from the port to other places, or manufacturing to other places. So, yeah, that definitely is an issue that could be, we could be seeing some changes because of that down the road here. I've got
Goodwill.
three banks that reported. Do I have time for all three of them, Dave?
Sure,
Um,
let's do it.
all right, so we got Fifth Third Bank, we've got Key Corp, and we've got U.S. Bank Corp. So let's start with U.S. Bank Corp. They beat the fourth quarter earnings report. Came in at $1.26 versus $1.19. Revenue ahead of expectations as well. They're up a little over 0.5% this morning. We go to Key Corp. They underwhelmed investors, even though they beat on their revenue number. Their net interest income was less than expected. They're down 1.75% this morning, and so it's kind of a mixed bag. We got Fifth Third Bank. Um, they beat by about 4 cents a share, came in at $1.04. Revenue, or at least interest income, missed on their forecast. Um, Even though their interest margin was in line with expectations. Earlier this morning, they had added about 1%. However, now they've given that back and actually down 1.33% this morning.
It's beginning to sound like a pretty good, solid snapshot of the financial industry in general, kind of a checkered picture for the first time in quite a few quarters this year, isn't it?
It is. It is. It looks like it's struggling a little bit.
Just a teeny bit. Resetting the table, basically flat on Friday. Monday, we were, of course, closed for MLK Day, so we got 4 days to digest the weekend events, and Friday's close 45 minutes before the open. How bloody is it this morning?
It's a lot of red ink this morning, Dave, and it looks like, I was looking at the place where it shows me what the expected implied open is, and it's all pretty much following through right to the open for sure. So we've got, where'd my page go? Sorry. So we got the Dow down almost 1.5%. S&P 500 is down a little over 1.5%. NASDAQ 100 is down almost 1.8%. And the Russell 2000, it can't be left out, Dave. It's down a little over 1.9%. Yeah. On the other side of the coin, though, silver, man, it is just raging bull here. It's up almost 7.5% to $95.08 an ounce right now. And gold doesn't want to be left out this morning, Dave. It's up a little over 3% this morning to $4,735 an ounce. Crude oil up a third to $59.54. That's not a bad number as we get ready to roll into the morning open.
You can kind of draw a picture there. Folks are running the flights to safety at this point in time, and they're starting to figure that the commodities, their flight to safety. European community, obviously totally unimpressed by the situation. Every single European index is down, most of them down by well over a full percent, some of them as much as 1.5%. The average European index halfway through their trading day is down about 1.25%. The Asian rim kind of caught the flu as well. The Chinese markets were off fractionally on the mainland. Everybody else also off by about 0.5% at the 6 a.m. close this morning. So we're pretty much solid, floating in red ink 45 minutes before our markets open up. We'll cross our fingers things settle down soon. In the interim, that's going to raise some concerns for folks with some investments. How do I find you to stabilize my retirement, sir?
Dave, this is a good time to spend about a half hour with us on the phone, making sure that you've got things in the right place, allocated properly, and making sure that your plan is going to work for your retirement. Give us a call at 863-382-0037 to schedule that 30-minute phone call. And then join us this weekend for the Statler Financial Radio Show, 6 a.m. and noon on Saturday, 10 a.m. Sunday morning on Highlands News Talk, 7:30 a.m., 95.3 FM.
And newstalk730am.com on the web. Thank you very much, sir. We'll catch you tomorrow.
All right, man. Have a great day.
Thank you. It's 105.7 Light FM and Statler Financial Services. Philip Statler.